All right, Chris, welcome back to the show, my friend. How are you?
Good dude. Thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely. For everyone listening who doesn't know who Chris Meade is, Chris, would you mind just giving everyone a quick introduction to you and CrossNet?
That's it. Yeah, I'm Chris, co-founder, excuse me, of CrossNet, the world's first four-way volleyball game. So, yeah, we invented a four-way volleyball net back in 2017 that has changed my life for the better. And yeah, it's been a fun run.
I can't believe
I
it's been that long.
handle,
2017 is when you started it. For some reason, I thought it
yeah,
was
dude.
later than that.
No, it's
Wow.
been 2017 was the inception of the baby, and then we launched it in 2018. So first sales year was 2018, but it took a good year of planning.
Sure. Yeah, I remember that last time. Yeah, for everyone listening, Chris has been on here once before. We did, I think, a little over a year ago.
Yeah,
But I feel like you guys have just exploded since I saw you last and talked
yeah,
to you
it's been a good
last.
year. It's been a
Yeah, I
good
mean, I
year.
was just even scrolling through Instagram yesterday, your guys' CrossNet Instagram, and it's like, didn't you guys acquire another company? We can get all into this, but I saw you
Yeah,
guys acquired a company. You guys have been in the news a ton of times. You guys like partnered with USA Volleyball. Like you've done some like pretty
cool stuff.
incredible stuff since we talked last. So I thought it'd be fun to
Absolutely,
have you back on, man.
it's been a good year. Very busy.
For sure. So what I guess just to back up, you explain what it is. Would you mind giving everyone who didn't listen to the first one just a real brief, just like how you came up with it? Like where did this concept come from and how did you
Yeah,
guys decide to actually create a product?
yeah. So I was working at Uber. I was helping launch Uber Eats in Rhode Island and Boston. Cool job, making good money. But one of those things where you just wake up and you're like, oh shit, I got to go to work today and cold call people for 8 hours. Like that kind of sucks, right? But
Yeah.
so that was my life every day, and it was good. Like I was making good money. I was sitting on beanbag chairs and like petting dogs, right? Like kind of that corporate like Silicon Valley vibe, which was dope when you're 24, 25. But I knew it just wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I
Yeah.
felt like I was in a job where, all right, cool. You go to your boss in 8 months to a year and you say, hey, I need 10 grand more, or hey, I jump to another job and get another 20 grand. It's like, oh, do I just leave jobs every year to get like a 20K pay raise, right? So I was kind of over that. And then one night we had the idea for four-way volleyball, and we were kind of like, we assumed somebody had done it. We had assumed like a big toy company was already manufacturing it, and we just weren't aware because we weren't volleyball players or anything like that. We grew up playing basketball,
Okay.
and we checked Google, and nobody had done it. And we're like, what the hell? How is this not a thing?
Yeah.
So yeah, next morning we woke up, went to Walmart, rigged up two badminton nets, cut out the center, just kind of like rigged it up in my mom's backyard, texted all the friends, said, yo, come over. We got an idea. And we just made up rules on the spot. We combined Foursquare, which is a childhood recess game, and we combined volleyball, keep the ball alive. Essentially, keep the ball alive, right? Don't let the ball land in your square. Spike it as hard as you can. Do all the cool, fun moves that you possibly can and get the ball in your friend's square. And after like 4 hours of playing, we're like, dude, nobody complained about their girlfriends. Nobody complained about work. Nobody looked at their phone, and we felt like we were kids, but we're all 25, 26, 27. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool
And
point. That doesn't
yeah,
happen very
so
often, right?
that was the proof of concept. Like there was no like all this business stuff you see these days, like test groups and focus groups and all that. It was just, did we have fun? Yes. Okay. Now why wouldn't everybody else in America find this fun too?
Sure. And that makes a ton of sense. And I remember from our last conversation, I was really intrigued by the way you guys actually went about manufacturing it. And I remember you had a supplier over, and I think it was China, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How has all of that evolved over the last year? I actually was thinking of you guys a few months ago, just through all this crazy supply chain issues. Has that been like a huge issue for you guys as you continue to scale this
Yeah.
year?
So last year when we were talking, we were like scaling to a lot of different manufacturers because we couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of made a ridiculous amount of product, and so now it's like chilling, collecting dust in our warehouse. So hindsight's 2020. We probably overordered in
Okay.
anticipation for all the craziness that happened. So we pretty much were just like, yo, make as much as possible. And now we're well stocked up, which is great because now somebody like we closed Olympia Sports yesterday, which is a great account for
Oh,
us.
wow.
Yeah,
Congrats.
so thank you. So they could come in and be like, yo, I want 1,000 or whatever, and it's no sweat off my back, right? We have the inventory.
Sure.
But from a cash flow perspective, we're like, oh shit, like maybe we shouldn't have all this inventory. but
Yeah.
growing pains, of
It
course.
might have, honestly. It's funny to think in hindsight. I wonder if that was a blessing in disguise. If, like, you know what I mean? Because if you guys would have been trying to get product over here the last 6 months and you
Of
were
course, yeah.
chasing demand, that probably would have been a whole nother problem.
Fine balance. Yeah, we've kind of learned that we want to do like anywhere from 4 to 6 inventory turns a year. So you always want to just have enough,
Yeah.
not too much. It's just a nice fine balance that we're always working on improving. But to go back to your question, we started working with all these manufacturers just to meet demand. Ended up finding one really good one to consolidate everything. It's much easier just to work with one partner as
Yeah.
long as they have the demand. It's kind of funny when you start an e-commerce internet business, you have your stuff manufactured in China and you just think of it, oh, it's China, right? They can just make as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like you don't think of it like the human aspect of it. And
Sure.
then you finally hit capacity at a factory and you're like, oh shit, there's capacity. Like I didn't even know that's a thing.
Like
So
we're making so many cross nets that they
yeah,
can't keep up. That's pretty cool. I'm sure that was, I mean, not great news, but good, kind of a wild feeling, I'm sure.
exactly. Yeah. So eventually we found one factory that kind of could hit demand, gave us the best terms, good communication. So we've kind of consolidated everything to one place right now. And then some of our various SKUs, like our H2O model and our indoor, they're made at other factories, and then we consolidate like containers and stuff like that.
Got it. It's still all overseas though for now.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we definitely have, as kind of supply chain has been nuts. We've tried to source it here in the States. We've tried to source it in Mexico. It's just the same conversation. Our COGS go up 3-4x, like just nowhere close. I mean, we'd be selling $150 game for $500 at that
Isn't
point.
that crazy? It's just
It
so
sucks.
crazy how different the pricing is. Even with all the supply chain issues, it's still that way.
Yeah, it really sucks because I mean, nothing would make me happier than being an American-made company and not having to deal with cargo like waiting for freight for 90 days or getting stuff locked at the port and customs. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not a possibility at the current moment.
Right. Got it. Yeah. I mean, when you guys are getting to a scale, do any, and this is me totally being ignorant to your industry, but is your, like, when I think of other like toy manufacturers or game manufacturers, do any of them like vertically integrate? Like, do any of them really own their supply chain? Is that like a thing at scale that ever happens, or is it always usually pretty
Yeah,
outsourced?
that's a good question. I don't really have the answer to. I'm assuming like somebody like a Hasbro, right? They probably own a factory out there.
That's kind of what I
Um,
was thinking.
yeah. No, but everyone we're working with at least is just like Sporting Nets company, right? And
Okay.
they're just making a 4-way volleyball net.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
I'm sure like that'd be my aspiration, right? If we got to be $100 million company, like own your own factory.
oh, hell yeah. Right. How cool would that be? Then you control everything. Yeah. That would
Exactly.
just make your life so much simpler.
Yeah.
For you guys too, in this last year since we chatted, I think you actually might have hinted to the USA volleyball partnership to some degree, but
Yeah.
when that came to light, what was that like? Because I
Pretty
remember
dope, dude.
it's
Pretty,
crazy.
pretty
Like,
sick.
I think you came up with like a backyard game that's now tied in with like essentially the biggest volleyball organization in the
Yeah. I
US,
mean,
right?
in my eyes, it's like the NBA giving you a cosign, right? Like if it
100%.
was a basketball product. Yeah, it's cool. So I mean, that deal it's a 4-year deal. We're essentially able to go to all their events, set up a booth, like we're the official 4-way volleyball game of USA Volleyball. We get to use their logo on our packaging and all of our out-of-home advertising, like billboards, any
Oh,
type of
wow.
marketing. So yeah, it's a great deal. We also get some digital email sends through them, so we get exposure to their network, which, believe it or not, are very good CrossNet customers.
Yeah, I would
So
have bet.
yeah, so it's good. Yeah, it's definitely a yeah, I mean, it's wild, right? Like it was something we were slaying in my mom's garage 5 years ago, and now it's USA Volleyball giving us their logo to like work in tandem. So yeah, crazy feeling, very good.
Super cool, man. First of all, congrats. That was huge. And then
Thanks.
I think the other one that you maybe mentioned that I saw come to life was it ESPN that you guys had like
Yeah,
you had a tournament on ESPN?
yeah, we had a 30-minute tournament on ESPN. It was our
Yeah.
doubles tournament. Yeah, ESPN reached out. They're like, "Yo, you want a 30-minute slot on our show?" And you're like, yeah, of course we'll take a 30-minute slot. So that was a fun one because they didn't pay us money, which would have been sweet. But
Sure.
they were like, hey, we got 30 minutes. Go make a TV ready production. So we had to hire a production crew and all of that.
Oh, wow.
And
So that
yes,
wasn't their guys. You had to like
no,
figure
it
that
wasn't
out
their
too.
guy. So
Who
they
figured
they
that
had
out? Were you a part of that?
yeah, so they had recommendations recommendations, and we actually ended up getting in contact with somebody who did like a lot of pickleball tournaments and all these like kind of niche sports. So he had like expertise on how to film these things and do it well. So and his price was right. So
Yeah.
yeah, we made this beautiful 30-minute production. We rented out the Chula Vista Olympic, so the Olympic training session where all the Olympic athletes trained.
Oh,
This
wow.
beautiful center out in San Diego. Yeah, well, it's Chula Vista, California, and it's amazing. So we rented out this whole sand court for the day. Had 5 CrossNet doubles nets. We had about 30 teams show up, all co-ed, and yeah, we had teams fighting for a $10,000 cash prize. It was beautiful.
That is so cool, man.
Yeah, so
I
that was
remember seeing it and watched it. I thought it was the coolest
it
thing.
was sick. Yeah, so that was good. I mean, it presented a whole more challenges, right? Like it was our first event at a big scale.
Right.
Cash prize. We had refs come in, like the professional volleyball refs came in for the day.
Oh, wow.
We had to make a huge, like 200-page rule book, like guidebook, because I mean, people are so serious when $20 is on the line, let alone $10,000.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, so it was cool. We had to really button things up for the company within like 30 days because we were going really quickly. But yeah, it came out great. Hopefully we'll be back on ESPN this year potentially. And it's just another, I think the biggest thing when you start a business is like, where do you get those trust badges, right? You get it from ESPN, you get it from USA Volleyball, you get it from the Forbes and the Ellen show and all that. So keep piling those things up and they're easier to come as you get more recognition.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Like getting that first domino to fall, right? Kind of
Exactly.
like starts the whole trail.
100%.
Was it? So it's so interesting, like thinking from a business perspective, when you guys like evaluated the ESPN opportunity, I'm sure it was obviously marketing. And did you guys think like, okay, if we spend X on production, X on the you know, the cash prize, the referees getting us all out there, and then kind of try to figure out like, okay, how many CrossNets do we think we can sell from this 30-minute spot? And is it worth it? Is that kind of how you guys did it?
I think that's how a good marketer would have thought about it. For us, it was more like this is ESPN. Any kid
100%.
any kid who has ever invented a sport or made up something in their head and the biggest body of like recognition comes to you and says, hey, I got 30 minutes for you. I think you just figure it out as long as the price tag is within reason, which it was.
Okay.
And yeah, did we make our money back on that ESPN event? Hell no. But is that logo and this conversation going to get me in doors that are going to lock more revenue? Absolutely.
100%. No,
Yeah.
you're smart. I mean, that's a great way to think about it. Yeah, I mean, to your good point. Like if anyone that started any sport, if you said no to ESPN, you'd be slapping yourself later, right?
Absolutely.
What was the other one? I'm trying to think. Oh, I know what it was. I remember watching one of the early Dave Portnoy, one of his whatever his podcast is called.
Same
Dave Portnoy
situation.
Show. Yeah,
Same
I was
situation.
curious how that worked because I literally last night I was scrolling through your guys' Instagram and I resaw that clip and I remember watching it live and I was like, oh, Chris, nice, fuck yeah, you guys got CrossNet on here. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we did 5 podcast reads with them. So as much as I'd love for that to be organic, those were paid 30-second ad reads. Barstool guys crushed it. They make it seem so organic and really well done. So kudos to them. They all had discount codes that we could track revenue.
Oh, nice.
I could say that we probably came about like 50% to what we probably got 50% what we actually paid for it. So we didn't,
Okay.
it wasn't ROI positive, but it's kind of like one of those things, right? I got Dave talking about it. I could turn it into a cool ad or, hey, I could leverage it to get something else. So
I'm sure that stuff too, like the clips, you can market it on social and
exactly. It's one of those things where I think as the brand keeps getting bigger, we kind of allocate definitely not a full percentage of revenue, but just a small slush fund to just brand activity.
yeah.
And it's just kind of a gut feeling of, hey, we have Dave Portnoy, one of the most important people in the internet, talking about your brand for 30 seconds or a minute. It's just one of those things you do.
And he was like excited about it too. Like it wasn't even like, to your point, it wasn't like you could tell he was reading off a script. It was
exactly
very organic.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of things like that, right? We just did the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, nice. I didn't see that. I heard you say that, but I didn't see
we
it.
did the Ellen show last month, which was great, right? Like you got Ellen talking about CrossNet, hitting a volleyball in the air. Like,
oh, so she actually like was like playing with it and testing it out.
Yeah, well, she was playing with the ball, so we just tapping a ball up in the air. So that was kind of frustrating because she said that she was going to be using it and she didn't use it. So
okay, well,
kind of annoying, but yeah, it's just, I think you just
still
kind of
cool, right? Do they have a CrossNet set up on her show?
They were supposed to. They
Oh,
just had a video in the background of it running. So
got it. Okay.
those
All
are kind
right.
of like learning experiences when you do PR. Like, yeah, super frustrating. But no, I mean, still, we were on the Ellen show. Like, it was
Yeah.
a cool
Next time you
experience.
got to go. Next time you got to go out there and play with her. Just
Right, exactly.
pass the ball
But yeah,
back
no,
and
but
forth.
you see on those things, you see a good little spike on Amazon too, which is nice. So you see
That's
some
kind of
good
what I figured.
digital traffic coming in for the day.
Yeah, no, I bet. I was gonna say for you guys too. I remember last time we chatted, like obviously your D2C site was huge. Amazon was important. And I know you were unlocking doors like Dick's Sporting Goods and a lot of like the big sports retailers.
Yeah.
What's the last year kind of look like as far as where the growth has come from? I think for people listening, I know obviously a lot of the brands I've had on Amazon has been enormous. What's it look like for you guys?
Yeah, Amazon's continuing to be big. Wholesale just keeps blowing up, right? We got Sam's Club on this year, which is going to be
Oh, wow.
huge.
Congrats.
Yeah,
That's
great
enormous.
account. Olympia Sports, like I just said, it just the wholesale really continues to grow, where D2C continues to kind of scale down as the more retail stores, and that's fine, right? Like
Yeah.
we're kind of, which is interesting, right? Because we're getting much more sales offline than online, but the majority of our advertising is online.
Yeah.
So
How is pricing though? I mean, because I know like at our X bar when I was there, that was what we saw. Like as we got into Sam's, Costco, Walmart, like D2C shrunk. And sometimes I think it's just because of pricing. People like just think even if they're not getting a better deal, they think they're getting a better deal at club and in big
Mhm.
box sometimes.
Yeah, so with Sam's, we're making an exclusive product. It's pairing the doubles net, which is the long version, with the single one. So we're doing
Oh,
something
cool.
exclusive for Sam's, but no, pricing is the same. I think it comes down to, well, they have to pay for shipping, but
Okay.
they get free
Sure.
shipping on Amazon. I think it just has to come down to convenience, right? Like if you think you need a CrossNet, it's probably because you want to play in your backyard right now, or you're going on a beach vacation.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you want that impulse buy, and I mean, we're in like 3,500 stores, so like it's not
Wow.
too hard to find like a local retailer to pick it up, you know?
Yeah. No,
So
that makes sense. Yeah, and true. Like a Sam's Club, if that's growing, I mean, we can all say if we go to Sam's or Costco, like you end up leaving there with, a
yeah, yeah.
hundred, $200, whatever
I just went
extra
there
amount.
yesterday. I had $400 per. I didn't even mean to spend 400. I went for grocery bags. Like,
Yep. Happens
yeah,
every time. It's like the
exactly.
trickiest place. I have to go
Yeah.
in there with a specific list. And if I go off the list at all, I know I'm screwed. I know I'm
Yeah.
spending
No,
so much.
100%. But yeah, so that's been fun. I think the biggest thing this year is kind of shifting DTC dollars to more in-store. So trying to work with the stores. And a lot of people are like, oh, just like spend money at the retail locations, but you can't really do that unless the stores are receptive to you spending money at their store. Like
Sure.
not every store is willing to give you an end cap. Not every store is willing to like put a pallet like on the floor. Has to like build those relationships up. So fortunately, we've been at it for almost 5 years now. So like we're starting to build rapport with the buyers, which is cool. So that's kind of the plans this year. And then also just tracking like online spend much better. Before it was like, here's a good example, right? January is slow for us. If January revenue is down by 30% on direct to consumer, our marketing spend on direct to consumer better also be down 30%. Like
Yeah.
those things better stay in line together, because there's nothing worse than being at your marketing spend goal, but your revenue is behind 30%, because that doesn't help with profitability.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that we're really buttoning up. And like we have weekly meetings showing like spend to actuals. And I mean, it seems so obvious now as like what a mature company would do. But when you're a lean e-commerce business with like 10 employees, like it's tough to be
You
buttoned
guys,
up and polished like that.
even a year ago, you guys were hustling. I mean,
Yeah,
it was a way smaller team, right?
exactly. Yeah,
How are you
100%.
guys, I was gonna say, is it really just like, how are you guys achieving that? Is it just tracking and now you have a team that puts things together and you guys look at it every week? Is that kind
Yeah,
of
we
the
got like
key?
20 employees now.
Wow.
Yeah, which is cool.
That's like,
And
it's like what? Yeah. I mean, I think you had less than 10 when I talked to you last time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're growing really quickly. We use a tool called Triple Whale, which is really cool for like kind of just tracks all of our spend, money in versus money out, and we'll get a
Love it.
nice report every week. Sorry, every day, excuse me. And then you have to take the Amazon sales and the retail sales and kind of compile it. And the way we're looking at it is on a weekly basis, spend versus actuals. And if we're in the green and at our target numbers, scale it up.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Simple and to the point. I feel like that makes a ton of sense.
Exactly.
How has it been for you growing the team so much? That's always a huge challenge for anyone, I think.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think it's really important to hire for your weaknesses. Like clearly identify the things you suck at and then add that to the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think our biggest weakness last year was our operations, where we do all of our own fulfillment, and we've learned like hard lessons, like labels being no knock to anyone, like we're just trying to learn, right? For anybody not in this world, the vendors will send you a routing guide that's like 150 pages on a PDF, and it's just the most dry, boring material you'll ever read. And then snuck on page 54 is like the label needs to be 1 inch instead of 1.5 inches high. And then they'll hit you with like a $50,000 chargeback.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes, I've seen
yeah,
this.
hiring for operations and hiring for people who are very like on the money has been super important to save us money. And now that is built up and we have a nice army over there.
Okay.
So now it's kind of building up the marketing and sales team, which was always a strength of ours. But now I think not I wouldn't say a weakness, but it's just kind of the next place we address, right? Is how do we improve?
Love it. No, that's wild. I mean, I know from RX, I just remember always getting hit with fees that we just like, what the hell is this? And then
Yeah,
exactly, you dive into something and figure it out, and you're like, wait, we're getting charged how much for that? Which
exactly.
seems like the smallest thing for people who don't know anything about logistics. It's crazy sometimes what some of these
Yeah,
vendors charge.
absolutely wild.
And for you guys, are you all still remote 100%?
Yeah, we've always been 100% remote, still remote. In a perfect world, I'd love an office with our team, but dude, everyone's spread out. Like we'd have to literally blow up the whole company and restart from
Yeah.
scratch.
Do you,
So
I mean, no, it's really interesting talking to founders who have developed teams over the last few years remote, especially with the way COVID changed everything. Do you think there's ever going to be a time you guys have an office now at this point? Does it make sense?
no, I mean at this point for this company, like everyone's remote. Like I said, I'd have to fire everybody and restart
Yeah.
from scratch. I'm not going to force people to move their whole lives. Um, I do know when we are all together, like we had an offsite in Tampa where we had like 8 of the executives come and we just grinded for 5 days, and we got more done in 5 days than we'd get in a month. So I
Yeah.
definitely am not pro this work from home environment. Like I know we'd be much more efficient in an office, but it's just kind of the hand that we've been dealt and the company that we've built. So it is what it is.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Good
Yeah.
mentality to have too. It's funny, right? It's a whole different world now, especially companies who got used to being remote and people. I know so many people I used to work with who just like moved during COVID and now
Yeah.
they're like, oh wait, I'm not coming back there for the
Exactly.
office. But it is weird because the office dynamic, there's so much like banter and like quick conversations that like you don't have to like hop on Slack or even just hop
100%,
on
dude.
Zoom to talk about.
And I think that also like as a founder and also like still a bootstrapped company, I think it would help with accountability, right? Like there's a lot of employees I don't talk to. And sadly, it's kind of the mindset of like, if I don't talk to you, are you actually working? But like, that's a shitty mindset to have. But if
Yeah.
things are slow or if a department's going down or something bad's happening, my thing is like, oh, is that person actually working 40 hours a week? Where if we were in an office,
You
I
know.
don't want to be like that, like strict, like micromanager, but like, there's also that accountability. Like, are people actually working that 40 hours that they're getting paid for? Or are they working 20 and just on their phone when they need to be?
Right.
So
Do you feel like there's do you guys have like a balance? Like are most people working like normal 9 to 5 or do you have people kind of
yeah.
flexing like all over the place?
No, most people are 9 to 5. I mean, I'm always the type of like I've been trying to build a company where if you want to go to the gym at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. Just work till 6 that day. Like no problem. Don't even message me. I don't give a shit as long as you're showing up for your meetings, right? And if you're not
Yeah.
going to show up for your meeting, tell me why. So I definitely it's important to build a culture like that, but at the same time, it's important to also not get taken advantage of, right? Because we are
Sure.
young. We're not like 60-year-old strict bosses who like are just cutthroat, right? Like
Right.
I'm just a nice kid, right? Who did a 4-way volleyball net. But at the same time, you need to respect me as a boss. You need to be accountable and you need to be working your ass off.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. No, it's tough. It's a tough dynamic. And
yeah,
then to your point, you don't want to be checking everyone. Like, are you live on Slack? Are you live? Can I see is your computer open? Like
yeah, yeah,
that's not efficient for you or the team, I'm sure. But it sounds like you guys
exactly.
have kind of figured it out. I mean, are you
Yeah,
guys,
100%. I mean, it's just kind of the growing pains of being a remote company. But
yeah.
I'm sure every other boss kind of feels the same way at some
And
point or another.
I don't think we talked about this last time. I'm always curious with founders. Do you try, we talked about it a little bit before we started recording, but do you try are you is your like leadership team the kind that's just like, it seems like they're on all the time? Do you guys try to like balance work and life and like turn it off sometimes and have kind of like guardrails where you guys know you're trying not to bug each other? Or how have you guys built
That's a
that
good
over time?
question, man. I think each founder is a little bit different, right? Like for me, I typically don't work Saturday and Sunday. Like I'm just off, right? Like don't even talk to me about work.
Okay.
Um, of course I'm thinking about it, right? There's no way to stop thinking about my company. But Saturday and Sunday, my laptop is in the same spot that I left it on Friday at 5 o'clock,
Got it.
which is
Nice.
important to me. I try my best to be done work by 5 o'clock every day. There's times where, of course, I need to jump online and do something for an hour or whatever, or meeting gets scheduled late. But yeah, I wake up at 8 o'clock. Sadly, it's the first damn thing I think about after I walk the dog. And I'm in the trenches till 5 o'clock, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like my brother will be texting me last night at 11 o'clock. I'm watching Netflix, and I'm like, dude, this is a conversation for tomorrow. Like, yeah, I think in the beginning, like your grind, like the mentality is like grind, 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 work till 2 a.m., which is cool, but eventually it just burns yourself out. Like, let's save it for tomorrow, bro.
Yeah.
You got me from 9 to 5 tomorrow. Let's talk about work. If you want to be my brother, sure, be my brother at 11 o'clock at night. Send me Netflix shows.
Love that. No, that's
Yeah.
cool, man. I forgot your brother's also a co-founder, right? So
Exactly.
you got that
Yeah.
going on. You got the family dynamic.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's tough. Yeah. Especially from the family dynamics. Like you want your brother, and I want just my brother. I don't want work brother. Like I want just my brother who loves me and wants to talk about the Knicks. Right. So like, that's like, it's hard. You got to keep those things balanced.
For sure. How have you guys tried to keep that balance? I think for anyone listening who's in business with family, that's got to be, it's always a tough dynamic, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has its pros and cons, right? Because like for us, we could just, if it was another partner, sometimes you got to sugarcoat shit, or you got to be delicate about the way you say stuff, or like, oh, I got to plan this meeting at the end of the week that I'm nervous about talking. And with Greg, I could just pick up the phone and like chew his ear out, and like it'll get ugly for 15 minutes, but at the end of the day, we'll be fine by the end of the day, you know?
Sure.
So that's great. Setting boundaries, like you said, right? Like he likes to grind a little bit more lately than I do, but like, yo, work ends at 5 or 6 for me. If you have something very important, let me know. Otherwise, you can save it to the next day, and just setting those boundaries. And of course, he tries to stress that sometimes, like tries to push it at 11 o'clock, text me about work. And I'm like, dude, there's just no shot I'm working right now. Like tomorrow. So
Yeah.
you just kind of got to set that. And eventually people just understand that.
Makes sense. Does it ever make you feel, how do I frame this? Do you ever feel like behind? Like, I guess if you have someone who's grinding at 11, do you feel like when you wake up, you need to like, shit, do I need to catch up? Or have you guys created a good culture where it's like, no, just sometimes people are hot on something and we want to work on it now? And
that's a
I
good
don't know.
question. Like I know right now I'm looking at my inbox. I got like 22 emails because I didn't work yesterday. And so I feel behind in the moment. I just think we have the company has ebbs and flows of like when some departments are super stressed. Like right now, I know my supply chain guy who handles all of our like Dick's and Walmart orders. I know he's chilling right now. He's probably at the beach with his girlfriend because he has no orders going out today. But I
Okay.
know in 2 weeks from now, he has over 50 orders that need to be routed within like 7 days. So like he's going to be busting his ass, like preparing labels, like going hard the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right now he's kind of chilling. And I just launched a new CrossNet website, and there's tons of things wrong with it. So like whenever I have downtime, it's fixing the website, and I'm kind of under stress until that's done. And then for me,
Sure.
I mean, I'm always trying to find the next fire to put out.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense. I didn't know you guys launched a new website. That's exciting.
Yeah, we just launched it last week, and yeah, it looks good, but there's definitely things that need to be improved.
Did you guys, what did you pick to use? Shopify, or what do you?
Yeah, so we're on Shopify. We're on Shopify Plus right now, which is good, but it's like $2,000 a month or maybe a little bit more. And
wow.
I'm kind of thinking we may downgrade, just knowing that a good majority of our revenue is wholesale and Amazon only. So
what do you get out of Shopify Plus? Like, I guess when I built my first Shopify, I think it was like $30 a month.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like $30 a month. I think there's like a 250, don't quote me on this, but like a $250 tier, maybe 350. And then there's this grand tier. With the grand tier, you're getting access to a Shopify rep that you have literally like on a minute's notice. He'll email you back and like plug you with anything that's wrong, or your site's broken, or you need help.
Oh, wow.
You get lower processing fees, which is nice.
Nice. At scale, that actually probably can pay for itself.
You have better utility, like in the themes, like you have more customizable settings, which is nice. And then you also have the ability to like duplicate stores. And we just launched in Australia, and we
Oh
launched,
yeah,
yeah,
congrats on that
and we
too.
had
I
a
just can't keep up with all the
yeah,
guys' growth.
and we
It's
had
insane.
and we have a Canadian website too. So it makes like scaling globally easier. But it's a $1,700 cost right now compared to the $300 plan. Is it worth it? So I'm kind of debating back and forth right now.
Got it. Got it. That's one thing I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think you guys had launched in any other countries yet. Do you, whether you did or you didn't, like a Canadian site and an Australian site, are you guys, do you have like a fulfillment center in each of those countries that your,
Yeah.
orders are going through?
So in Canada, we have a small warehouse and we have one worker who just ships product there. And then in Australia, we have a 3PL, which took a long time to find. Believe it
Wow.
or not, you actually can't make an Australian. You know how easy it is to make a USA website, right? Like we make one by the time this zooms over.
Sure.
Australia, you have to have a business license from the government to make a website,
Really?
which is
Yep.
really interesting. So it took us like 6 months to get like an approved Australian business license.
What happens if you don't?
You can't make a website.
But if you did, oh, you like physically can't?
Physically can't make a website.
Whoa. I didn't know they could control that. That's
Yeah.
great. I guess, I mean, China does that too. So I guess, yeah.
Right.
Duh.
Yeah. So that was pretty nuts. So yeah, it
Wow.
took us a while to get our business license over there. And
It's probably a
now we
barrier to
have
entry to a lot of brands in general.
yeah. So now we got 365 days of sunshine to advertise too.
That's
Um,
super cool for you guys. Wow.
yeah, it is. It was interesting though, because I mean, of course, now they are super locked down with COVID.
Yeah.
So making my grand plan of advertising in the sunshine right now a bit difficult, but
Yeah, because
it
I
is
know
what
Australia is like crazy lockdown, right? Like I don't think are they even allowed to like be at the beach and everything? It's like
dude,
nuts.
they can barely. I mean, there's a few like provinces. I think that's the technical term for them, but
Yeah.
whatever it is. But yeah, there's a few cities or whatever that are a little bit more flexible. But some of them, like, you're getting like a ticket if you leave your house. So it's like,
Yikes. That
yeah,
makes it tough for CrossNet, right? Because I mean, I
yeah,
would assume Australia would be an enormous market for you guys.
dude, I would think so too. And from November to December, like we started and we're crushing. It was going so well, and then these COVID lockdowns happened, and
Boom.
so yeah, just kind
Bummer,
of got to
man.
wait it out. Can't really fight the government, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well, does it?
Yeah.
What are there? I'm trying to think. What are some other huge markets for you guys? Like after you get Australia up and running, that you guys want to go after? Is there?
Yeah,
Are there?
we just got off a call with our massive European distributor. So we signed a huge distributor out in Europe that will handle all the European countries. They actually are importing, I want to say 2,500 CrossNets.
Wow! Congrats.
And yeah, and they're importing CrossNet for soccer. So our soccer version.
Sweet. I was
So
gonna say your soccer version's got to be huge over there, right? I mean, it
yeah,
would
yeah,
be.
well, it's gonna be huge, yeah, for sure. So they'll be the first person to carry that, and great market to test, obviously in Europe.
Oh yeah.
So
How
yeah,
does
we're
it work? How
excited.
does the soccer version work again? Is it like you
Yeah, so
kick it over?
it's just crossing on the floor. You kick it over, trap head, just work on juggling.
Yeah.
For me, I personally think it's going to be more of like a training tool for gym classes and teachers and camps and clinics. However, I mean, soccer is much bigger of a market here than volleyball is. So like, who am I to say it doesn't become even more popular than the normal CrossNet? So we'll see.
Yeah. Sure.
I just want to come in with kind of realistic expectations before, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I know we are running low on time. So the one other thing I really wanted to ask you was, how did you guys get to? And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name, but the partnership, or was it the acquisition you guys did with the basketball goal company?
Oh yeah, so that wasn't. We just invested in the business, so we didn't acquire it. I wish
Got
I
it.
had
Okay.
enough money to acquire it. But no, I mean, just as basketball kid, like we all grew up playing basketball together. Basketball is what we go out and do when we have free time, right? So like
Sure.
Tim from U-Ball, which is a portable basketball hoop that you set
U-ball.
up in
That's
the
what it is. Yeah.
sand. Yeah, so you set up in the sand or grass. It's like handball, but basketball, no dribbling, just two steps and then pass and dunk and shoot. It's so much damn fun and great workout.
When you guys
Uh,
posted that, I was like, this is awesome. Like, what a
yeah,
great, like a good combination. Like, you know
of
what I mean?
course.
Like, it's great for you
But
guys. And
he's inventing a sport. He's doing everything we did just about 5 years afterwards. So he's kind of looked at us as like trailblazers, right? And like kind of
sure.
leading the way in our space. And yeah, I mean, it was just synergy right off the rip. Like we could help with production, we could help with importing, marketing, doing everything we've done for CrossNet, doing it for him.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, we acquired a little chunk of his business, and yeah, yeah, I'll help him out. Like right now, we're working on how to get the product into Dick's Sporting Goods, so it's cool.
I mean,
Good.
that's enormous. Are there more people like that you guys have identified? Like, you don't have to say who it is or what
Oh
companies they are,
yeah,
but are there a lot of people
absolutely.
trying to kind of do the same thing? I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some. We've actually had one person come to us with a really cool idea. He had, and you'll see more about this within the next 6 months, I promise
Sweet.
you. But came to us with an amazing idea. It was nothing but a backyard game that him and his family had played for 10 years, and he was getting to be like, in his 30s. He's like, I'm never gonna do anything with this. Are you guys interested in it? So like we licensed it off of him, and
Oh, cool.
it'll be a new product for us soon.
Oh, good.
Um,
And good for you. Good for him. That's sweet.
yeah, so stay tuned on that. But yeah, we see a lot of people now coming to us and pitching us, which is
Yeah.
just kind of wild.
Wild. Oh, yeah. And for him, so I would love to know that for that guy,
Yep.
how did he like protect, like, not that you guys would steal it, obviously, but
Yeah.
like, how, when you're someone like, if someone listening is like, oh, I have an idea for Chris, how does
Yeah.
someone like protect the idea?
Yeah. So typically it's kind of like an in this situation, right? It was an NDA. Like we had a first initial concept call. We signed an NDA, kind of signed an agreement saying, hey, we won't rip your product.
Got
And
it.
then from there, he sent us over samples. We fell in love with it.
So
Uh,
cool.
he kind of he had his like price sheet of like how much he thought it would cost to make and how much it cost him to make like his made up bodega version from Home Depot.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, let's go take it to China and actually price it out. Found the price. We kind of came to an agreement of, hey, this is our landed cost, this is our suggested retail cost, and we'll give you a royalty fee on it, right? And we'll cap that royalty at like a certain number, so you're not becoming a trillionaire off this. But hey, you may make an extra 200 grand a year, and that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of how those relationships work, and we're open to any kind of cool, innovative game. And yeah, there's definitely going to be another podcast. We'll be chatting about a lot of cool shit in like 6 months from now. So stay
Love it,
tuned for
man.
that.
We'll keep them coming. This is
Yeah.
awesome. That's badass. Very
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that. But when I saw the U-ball thing, it kind of like was sparks. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
I wish
you
I
guys
wish
probably have
we would
lots
have
of
got
stuff.
the 100% rights to ball. I'll tell you that.
Hey, there's still time. There's
Exactly.
still time. No, but they're both very cool. Awesome. You guys are just doing lots of cool stuff, man. I think you guys are like, I mean, you said he called you guys trailblazers, but you guys have become like, you're doing a lot of the right things in my eyes. Like you're just seems like you're everywhere. You're going on everything you can, and you're such a
Yeah.
small team still, really. I mean, even 20 people
Yeah.
being everywhere you are, it's badass. So congrats on all the success from this last
Appreciate
year.
it,
It's
man.
pretty cool. As we wind down, I asked you these last time, but I'd love to know if anything has changed or evolved. One of the last questions I always ask is, as a co-founder of a growing and blossoming company, what do you use to, keep track of your goals and ultimately like plan your daily tasks? So like, what do you use to get shit done? Whether it's pen and paper, apps. I don't remember what you said last time, but curious what you use
Yeah.
now.
We just started working with Basecamp.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were on Notion. Notion's really great for e-commerce, but it was a little bit too complicated, especially as we onboard like 60-year-old employees who are
Okay.
not the most tech savvy. Sometimes something like basic like Basecamp works really well and more affordable. So Basecamp works good for my personal life, dude. Like Notepad. I just use notes on my phone. Like, I mean, I use Basecamp for my team to collaborate and like plan like when I have tasks for them. But no,
Yeah.
it's just simple. I don't have a piece of paper in sight. It's just my phone. Like,
Okay.
I wake up, I have my calendar planned out. I know the shit I gotta do, but it's really just mental. Like, I know the big win today is fix the website. As long as the website's 5% better than it was today, I'll leave today pretty happy.
See, that's key. I think that's how I work too. I like have a few key things. If I get those done, it's a good day type of
Yeah,
thing.
I think that was actually a big, sorry, yeah, going to that point with my employees. It used to, when you're a small company, you use those buzzwords like KPIs and all that stuff, but in reality, nobody ever has KPIs. It's work as fast as possible and do as much shit as possible.
Yeah.
We've boiled it down to like, here are your 3 or 4 KPIs for the whole quarter, and every single person has them. And we measure against that weekly.
Oh,
How are
nice.
you improving to that? You show up
Yeah.
to your weekly meeting. How are you proving to those KPIs? And are you going to hit that or not? And then you have short milestones and how you move those KPIs, but you really have 3 or 4 trackable things. And that's the only thing I care about as a boss this year. So
Got
we're
it.
trying for that.
Love it. Do you have any suggestions for people listening who manage people? Like, did you read a book or is there a resource for KPIs that you suggest?
I mean, I just think every team is different, right? So like a good example would be was our social media manager, right? Like our big emphasis this year is normally when you think of content and content creation and social, we always thought about Instagram first, but Instagram is such a dead platform that doesn't reward creativity anymore and engagement's
Oh,
terrible.
okay.
So rather than thinking about content and Instagram, TikTok is the number one platform. I hate TikTok to death, but is the platform that rewards creativity and engagement.
Yeah.
So what are our TikTok goals? And so like we have, like our goal is to have 50,000 followers. I'm just roughly saying that by the end of the quarter. How are we moving to that goal? Are we creating content with like famous influencers? Are we working with an agency? So she has very strict KPIs. And then also how much organic traffic are we sending from social to our website? Because we know our website has a 3% conversion rate, right? Like that's just a random number. But if we know we have a 3% conversion rate, I know every 100 visitors I get from social is going to turn into 3 sales, which is $450, which is how much net profit.
Yep.
So you can start becoming very scientific.
Love that. Oh,
which
yeah.
is the goal, you know?
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I'm even thinking back when I started the podcast, like I remember back when I first started this, no one even either knew what TikTok was or was like, oh yeah, okay, another social media. It's funny now, man, like a year and a half, almost 2 years later, it's like everything.
Exactly.
Crazy. Cool. That's a great one. The next question is just source of knowledge. So for you, do you have anything you suggest to the audience listening today, whether it's a book, podcast, just anything you would suggest that you've read or listened to recently that was impactful?
Yeah. I love my First Million podcast. Really good.
Didn't listen to that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And then one thing that's really stuck with me lately is I had this guy, kind of like a mentor in my life. And he's like, Chris, like you're really good at networking and making those first conversations. And I'm sure a lot of people do this, right? Like me and you would rip it for an hour and we have a reason to like stay in touch, right? But most of the time you have a call with somebody for an hour, half an hour. It's great. And you never talk to that person again. Like you follow them on Instagram. It's like, it is what it is. And you make that occasional, hey, I might like their post or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's like, be intentional with your connections this year. Find 6 people that you really care about and stay in touch with them. Have a meeting every quarter. Send them something. Like really progress, like you're dating almost, right? Like
I love that.
6 people that you really like. And by the end of the year, measure how he had a good name for it. I forget it, but essentially just find 6 people that you really want to network with this year and push those relationships much further.
That is really cool. Instead of it's kind of like instead of going a mile wide, inch deep, go a mile deep, inch wide type thing.
Yeah. So I think I thought that really resonated with me. So I'm gonna definitely try
that hit me too. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very
like
cool.
Six people's attainable. I mean, you can even do it with 2 people, but at least it's a start. And like for me, I'm almost 30. Like it's harder to meet friends when you're older, right? It's like you're not living in a dorm room. Like I go out to a lunch with somebody for 30 minutes. They're in Miami sick. Like it was a great lunch, but I never hear from them again, right? So it's like, how do we take the next step forward?
Love that. That's great advice, Chris. Appreciate that. And everyone listening, I'm sure a lot of people's light bulbs just went off because I think a lot of people probably fall into that with it. I think honestly, like it kind of sped up with COVID and everyone being remote. I know for me, like just I meet a lot of people on the podcast, but to your point, like how many of some of those people I'm thinking now, like I keep in touch with pretty regularly, but yeah, not a lot. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Love that. Last and most important question is how can people follow you and how can people follow along and ultimately try CrossNet?
Yeah. So CrossNet, available at all those retail stores I mentioned, but crossnetgame.com is great. You can follow along me on social, Chris Meade on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I actually just put out a newsletter that I write once a week.
Sweet.
On super helpful e-commerce tips, all about just like building a business. So yeah, super easy to find. Just type in Chris Meade newsletter. You should be able to find it.
Awesome. I will I'll definitely add that to the show notes and subscribe. That's badass. Cool, man.
Yep.
Well, Chris, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the time and it was a pleasure catching up.
Love it. Thanks for having me.